Welcome to Alternate Reality.
Going to talk today on the Alternate Reality about Justice League and the Punisher. Hey folks, Comic Book Man here. Welcome to the Alternate Reality. I'm being joined once again today by my good pal.
Hey, what do you want?
For those of you who are listening to this 5 years down the road and going, well, why the hell are they doing those two together? We're doing those two together for obvious reasons.
They
back today in 2017. They came out the same day, yeah. Yeah, Justice League had a hard set date of November the 17th.
Yes.
Which is something I'm sure we'll talk about. Mm-hmm. And Marvel was nice enough to decide, you know what? Why don't we drop the Punisher on the same day?
12:01 a.m. No, yeah. This looks like a fun day.
November 17th sounds like a wonderful day.
Well, we can't release it for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We'll go a week before Thanksgiving.
Week before Thanksgiving. There's nothing else happening that day, is there?
No!
Oh, and by the way, before anybody asks and before you start thinking about it, yes. This will be a spoiler-filled episode of the Alternate Reality. So keep that in mind. If you don't want to hear, plot points, and if you don't want to hear Easter eggs and stuff about Justice League and the Punisher, then you might want to bail on this until you
haven't seen
actually
either of them by now. You're really not trying.
Yeah, well, there is that too. We were going to do this show a couple of weeks back. We actually binged our way through Punisher and Justice League over the course of 2 days, and by the time we got done with it, we just didn't feel like doing this. That was the plan originally.
I was too hopped up on coffee.
But yeah, we never got to it. 2 weeks have gone by, and now we're back. And yes, we're going to review both of them today. But before we get to that, Bo, what makes this show go? Alternate Reality makes this show go. Located at the intersection of 111th and Kedzie in the heart of beautiful downtown Mount Greenwood, Alternate Reality is the only brick-and-mortar store that discounts all new comics 15% off every day for everyone. And that's been since 1994. And all brand new first issues are discounted at 25% off every new comic Wednesday. So stop on down and save some money. Now, what do you want to start with, Justice League or Punisher? Your choice.
Let's start with Justice League.
Justice League, okay. Justice League has a long, torturous history, which I'm sure everybody's aware of. But briefly, it was the third in the trilogy of Zack Snyder films for DC, essentially Superman films. Yeah. With Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and then finally Justice League. And in his trilogy, Superman arrives, Superman dies, Superman is reborn. And along the way, you got a World's Finest movie and you got a Justice League movie out of it. With Justice League, Zack Snyder had a tragedy in his family after they finished filming. Yeah. But before they got into editing, his daughter committed suicide. And again, we've said this before on the show, we're going to say it again. Our heart goes out to the Snyder family because whatever we might feel about the movie, personal tragedy like that overshadows everything.
Yes. And now before this happened, Snyder had already asked Joss Whedon to come in and lighten up the tone and help him with the film.
Now, did Warner's ask him to do that, or did he come up with that on his own?
Snyder asked Whedon.
Now, why would he do that?
Because
obviously he was happy with what he did in Batman versus Superman.
Well, I guess
he was saying
I need someone to come in and help me and lighten up the tone a bit. So he called up Whedon and asked him, and Whedon said yes. Yeah. This is before Whedon decided to do the Batgirl movies. This wasn't Warner's. This was Snyder. He's the one who made the initial contact.
Okay. So he had to leave the production. Yeah. And Warner's went to Whedon and said, we need somebody to finish editing this film. Would you please finish editing this film for us? We would really appreciate it.
No, exactly.
Okay.
They said, we need to do reshoots, and he can't do them, and would you kindly do them for us?
Now, why do you have to do reshoots? I mean, this would have been Snyder before he had to leave the movie. He still had to do reshoots?
Every film goes through reshoots. All of them do.
Okay.
And that's just part of production. You shoot it, you get it, you look at it, and you go, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. Okay, we'll set up some reshoots, and we'll do some reshoots, and we'll put all the stuff in it that we didn't get the first time around because as we're cutting the film together, we're getting a rough cut, we're going, we're missing a couple things here, so we need to go back and shoot for a week or 2 weeks or sometimes a month and fix it. But Affleck said this quite clearly. Argo went through reshoots. You go, why would you have to reshoot Argo? I said, because there was stuff that we thought of while we were working on the film, while we were editing it. Yeah, so it wasn't exactly.
Or you shoot something that doesn't come out quite the way you expected it to.
You go,
and you're on a schedule, and you go,
right.
This is something we can come back and redo once we go into editing because it's not that big a deal.
Right.
We'll talk to the studio and see, can we get a couple extra bucks in order to redo these scenes?
Yeah.
And the studio will either say yes or no, depending on how much money the film is costing. And, usually it's yes, especially if it looks like it's a good film. So, go ahead and do it later. So
yeah, and the actor's contract is a clause that says you have to be available for reshoots.
Right.
If there are any.
Even if you have a beard and a mustache.
Yeah, even if you are Henry Cavill and you're wearing a mustache because you're doing Paramount's Mission Impossible, and Paramount goes, no, you can't shave the mustache.
But you can be in the movie for reshoots.
You can be in the movie for the reshoots, but no, you cannot shave your mustache.
Well, it's a good thing they didn't cut his arm off or anything.
Yeah. Well, some people say you should have just had a full beard. I'm like, yeah, that would have worked.
But anyway, then in Justice League, the world is in mourning.
The world's reacting to the fact he's no longer around.
I'm not quite sure why, because you spend all of Batman versus Superman talking about what a goddamn menace he is and how we're all scared to death of him. But now all of a sudden that he's dead, we're worried about him.
But he was also saving people off of buildings and saving people's lives.
Well, here's the thing. In the comics, yes, the S stands for hope, and yes, Superman is the beacon, and Superman is the light, and Superman comes in and he saves people, and he makes the world a better place. But in Batman versus Superman, he's this gloomy asshole that most people are afraid of, and he winds up blowing up Congress. Well, he doesn't, but a bomb goes off, and he's able to not do anything about it, even though he's standing 5 feet from the guy.
Oh, he can't see it.
And he's deaf apparently too.
Lex Luthor's a
but that's Batman versus Superman.
Lex Luthor's pretty smart.
That was a previous discussion. But it blows up. So why the hell anybody cares at the beginning of Justice League about this guy is beyond me. But they do.
Because his symbol stands for hope.
You might as well put a SWAT stick on his chest and tell everybody it stands for hope and see how that flies. But anyway, he's dead. And Bruce and Wonder Woman are trying to bring together a team because one of the things that happens in Batman versus Superman is Bruce starts to realize that there's greater threats out there, and they're heading towards Earth, and they're coming towards us, and we need to assemble a team because we don't have the power individually to stop him, but together as a group,
we can stop anything.
We will. Well, we can do it. We can give it a hell of a try.
We can give it a college try.
Now, in the movie Justice League, we're treated to a flashback at the very beginning of the film where Steppenwolf had apparently come down to Earth. He's been on Earth before with his hordes of parademons and shock troops trying to subjugate the Earth. But this was during the time of the classical heroes of the Roman pantheon and the Greek pantheon, and I would assume the Norse pantheon. And
apparently the Green Lanterns.
And all of them, plus at least one Green Lantern, and some other folks who were thrown into the mix. Those all joined together back then to fight Steppenwolf, which they did successfully, drove him off the planet, split up the mother boxes, buried the mother boxes in 3 locations. Oh, Atlanteans. One mother box goes to Atlantis, one mother box goes to Paradise Island, Themyscira, and one mother box gets buried in a shallow grave someplace. I don't know.
In Russia. Slovenia or something.
In Slovenia or someplace. But it gets buried, and Steppenwolf has come back to Earth, reunites the boxes, and he's going to pick up, I guess, where he left off 5,000 years ago.
He's going to destroy the world.
Yeah, it's been 5,000 years, but they're gods. So, time doesn't mean anything. He goes to Themyscira, retrieves that box. He goes to Atlantis, retrieves that box. And then he goes to Russia to retrieve the 3rd box. And while this is all going on, Bruce is assembling his team. And Superman's still dead.
Yes. He's still buried at the farm.
Still buried at the farm. Now, what did you up to this point? What did you think of the movie?
Up to this point,
the boxes are assembled and the team is essentially put together, but Superman is still dead.
I thought at this point, I'm like, okay, well, at least they had a consistent storyline for a change. It did make sense. You had to go through the effort of introducing the other heroes,
which they do,
and and all 3 heroes have completely and totally distinct personalities. Jason Momoa's Aquaman is basically a super-powered surfer dude. Yeah. The Flash is a geek. Yeah. He's not Barry Allen in the CW. He's a geek, and Cyborg.
He's also not Barry Allen from the comic.
No, well, he's not Barry Allen in the comic yet, but he's working his way towards being Barry Allen. He's not solving crimes. And you've got Cyborg, who is dealing with the fact that he was crippled, and he's got this alien technology in him, and he doesn't really know exactly what he can do or what he can't do.
Well, he's getting a new ability every single day.
Yeah,
because the armor is morphing as each day goes by. Now, from this point, they have to go retrieve Clark's body.
Yes.
because they figure out that, you know what, well, if these mother boxes can bring things back to life, well, maybe it can bring the powerhouse back, because we're really going to need him. And of course, the rest of the Justice League isn't too keen on that.
Because they're like,
Bruce thinks it's a good idea.
We're digging up a dead guy.
Well, Bruce thinks it's a good idea, partly because I think he's responsible for getting him killed in the first place.
Yeah. So Bruce has a certain level of guilt involved for going, I kind of got him killed, so I need to bring him back, and we kind of need him, otherwise we're all going to die.
Well, the thing they keep talking about is Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
And if you've ever seen Stephen King's Pet Sematary, yes, dead animals come back to life, but
they're really screwed up once they come back.
But they're wrong.
Yeah, there's something not right with them because they've been resurrected from being dead.
So Cyborg and Flash, in one of the goofiest scenes in the movie, go to the grave in Kansas at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, there's nobody there because the farm has been repossessed.
And they dig up the coffin.
Yeah.
Now, they don't use any of their powers.
No.
They're just two guys
digging
with shovels digging up.
Because you figure the Flash would take about, 35 seconds, if that long to dig it up?
Yeah, yeah.
Cyborg could
and you think Cyborg could make like a big shovel or something.
Yeah, or something. But yeah, they dig it up. Well, they dig it. You know where they dig it up? So that they can have the dialogue. That's why they dig it up.
Well, yeah, that is a Josh Whedon moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
They dig it up so they can have the dialogue where they're both going, this is kind of creepy and weird. You know? And Flash is going, this is really creepy and weird.
So they dig him up. They bring him back to the ship, the
Metropolis.
Kryptonian ship,
Yes.
which is still Metropolis, under a big canvas.
Yes.
First thing I would do if I was Superman is get that damn thing out of there and dump it in the Arctic somewhere under a mountain. And they figure out some Rube Goldberg way of bringing him back to life, with the mother box and the restorative juice that's in the pool, and Flash running real fast.
And
Kellex.
You generate the lightning. You need a massive amount of power influx to go in it. Yeah. And so Flash goes, I can create lightning.
Yeah.
Because I can run real fast and create this big giant lightning bolt, and they go, they'll power this thing up.
Okay. So they do all that. He comes back to life. Yeah. He comes back to life a little wrong.
He comes back to life.
Not seriously wrong.
No, he comes back to life ticked off.
Ticked off.
Right.
As opposed to the grim, glum mope who was in the previous two films. Yeah. He's just ticked off.
Yeah, he's ticked off.
He's not grim. He's not glum. He's just not real happy.
He's angry because he's like, I was dead like 2 minutes ago.
They go through a little fight with the Justice League, which
actually is one of the best sequences in the film.
Yes, it's one of the best sequences in the film. You have Superman, you have the Flash putting the best of his super speed out there because his attitude is, I can stop this guy from what he's doing.
Run really quick and knock him over because he's holding everyone else by the hand and they're not moving.
And while he's doing that, you're of course moving in slow motion because otherwise if it happened that fast, you wouldn't see anything. So everything's moving in slow motion, and also moving in slow motion is Superman's eyes.
Yeah.
Watching him, and he's getting this look on his face like, who the hell are you?
Like, what are you doing?
Who in the hell are you, and what the hell do you think you're doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? He goes, get away! And then he grabs Bruce Wayne. He grabs Batman, and he goes, do you bleed?
Yeah, which, is in there for a reason.
He's in there for a reason. You throw Batman to the ground, and he goes, I think I'm bleeding a little.
Anyway, Bruce brings out the big guns which, if you know anything about Superman, you know exactly what the big gun is.
Right.
Okay. Its name starts with an L and it ends with an L. And most of the first Superman movie with Chris Reeves was all about that.
Right.
As Superman goes off, gets himself fixed, comes back, they have the big battle. Yeah. Steppenwolf is eventually defeated, driven off by his own parademons, and all's right with the world.
All's right.
There's a thing at the end where they talk about he could come back again, but we'll be ready for him or something.
Yeah, we'll be ready, and you get the whole part where you go to the burned out husk of Wayne Manor, and you go, this is where the clubhouse is gonna go. We need some tables, we need 6 people, and then Alfred goes, you might need some more seats. Okay.
Might need some more seats because, Arrow's out there. And
right. And
Hawkman and a few other people.
You got a bunch of other people that are out there that we can introduce to something.
Which is one of the things that they didn't do, I was reading about, which is true. They didn't do in the fight scene between the gods with Green Lantern and Steppenwolf. There's no Thanagarians in that, which would have been real easy to do.
It would have been real simple to do.
You could have rolled the Thanagarians in quite easily there, not said anything about it, just be winged guys. And that'd be the end of it, but they'd be there.
No plans for a Hawkman movie.
Doesn't matter. So. I don't think they have any plans to do a Zeus movie, but he's in there.
No. Well, no. You could do no.
Well, Wonder Woman. But
Zeus would be tied up with Wonder Woman. Yeah. Green Lantern's in there because you're doing a Green Lantern core movie.
You know what? You could also throw in the Wizard Shazam in there too.
You could do that as well,
but they didn't.
They didn't because, well, for one, they didn't have a wizard yet, and
it doesn't matter. They didn't have a Green Lantern either.
Right, and that film is going to be the Shazam movie is going to be much lighter in tone from any DC movie you've ever seen.
Yeah, but the Wizard Shazam is the Wizard Shazam.
So the Wizard would be the Wizard of Shazam. They could have done that as well.
And that's a Justice League movie. It's got 2 Easter eggs at the end.
One Whedon, one Snyder.
One Whedon, one Snyder. Both of them are definitely worth sitting through and waiting for.
And that Snyder thing where you see Lex Luthor
and
Deathstroke. Because with Joe Manganiello, he's playing Deathstroke of the Batman movie. Yeah, and they set it up in this thing whenever that film gets off the way. The plan is to not introduce the full Legion of Doom in one movie. These will be ending sequences in a bunch of movies before you actually see this.
Well, that's assuming we get to a bunch of movies, which is the actual review part, which we're going to talk about now. We've just been talking about the story. Here's the upshot of this thing, which is taking a while, but I wanted to talk about the plot before we got to our actual feelings about it. Warner, if you follow the news at all, you know that Warner's is up in the air right now as far as where the future of the DC Universe is going to go on film because of how piss poorly this movie has performed compared to what Warner's wanted. Supposedly, it's going to break even now, they think, when everything is said and done. But break even is not why you make films. You make films to make money. The
initial projection before the film opened was the film was going to make worldwide $250 million. It came about $150 million short.
Oh, this was a $1 billion movie.
Yeah.
The plan with this, the same with Batman vs. Superman. This is a $1 billion franchise. This film is going to make, if not $1 billion, damn close to $1 billion. Because that's the benchmark the Avengers set a long time ago.
This film is not going to make Avengers money.
No, it's not. Okay, this is not a bad movie, but it's not a very good movie. There's nothing in this film that's going to hurt you.
No.
Unlike Batman vs. Superman.
You're not going to get up in the middle of the film and go, what the hell am I? Why did I waste my time being here? But
but at the same time, it's not very entertaining.
It's a 3-star movie.
Oh, I think you're being generous. I think it's 2.5.
No,
I think it's easy 2. I think it's an easy 2.5.
I don't really go for the halves. It's either 2.
It's not
3
a 2.
Or 4.
Well, no, I have no problem with halves because it's better than a 2-star movie. It's better than that, but it just doesn't quite make it to 3 stars for me.
I think it's a 3-star movie that could have been a 4-star movie.
Oh, easy.
Well, if they had not. I mean, they didn't rush it into production, but then again, they didn't exactly take their time either.
Well, the problem with this film from the beginning was they set the date.
Yeah, which is...
And they made the date a hard date.
Yeah, and once you do that, you really kind of put the creators, the filmmakers in a box because you're going, well, I'd like to take my time with this, but I can't because you said this film has to be out by now. And the print can't be soaking wet when it gets to the theaters because we've got to have a premiere, we've got to show it to people, we've got to get reviews. And so when you lock yourself into a hard and fast date, and all movies do this as a general rule, most studios... They know how long it's going to take them to get the films done.
Yeah.
This film, there were rumors that before they were even starting production, there were people at Warner's who were really thinking about firing Snyder, but he'd already gotten too far to the point where they couldn't stop.
Well, they were stuck with him.
Yeah, they were stuck with him.
Like I said, we said at the outset, this was a 3-film trilogy.
Yeah.
With Superman, this is the 3rd film in that trilogy.
Well,
I mean, just for contractual reasons, I don't think they could have fired him.
No.
They might have liked to, but I don't think they could have.
You couldn't have fired him because you locked yourself into a release date.
Yeah.
So even if you had fired him, someone would have to come in at the last minute and throw a film together.
Well, at some point, you have to flush that release date and start over again from scratch.
Yeah,
and Warner's doesn't do that.
No, well, studios don't do that because when you flush a release date, people sense that it means the film's in trouble. Once you push a film back, the radar goes up. There's something wrong with this.
Well, yes and no. The first Superman movie was originally supposed to have a summer of '78 release, and it got pushed back to Christmas of '78 because it just wasn't going to be ready in time.
Well, but you have to remember when the Superman film came out, you only had 3 movie seasons. You had spring, summer, winter.
Christmas.
That was it.
Yeah.
There was no middle ground. You had 3. You don't have that anymore. Now everything is spread out. The summer movie season, which is usually starting in June or July, it starts in May.
Okay.
It's not summer in May.
Okay.
That's when it starts.
As far as this film goes, it's a really Frankenstein movie as you get through it because it jerks back and forth between Whedon films and Snyder films. Not that it ever gets overly heavy or dour, but at the same time, the light parts are obviously contrasting against the rest of the film.
Yeah,
you can pick out where the Whedon stuff is just because it's lighter in tone and because it holds together better. The problem is once you get out of that Whedon scene, you're back in a Snyder scene. And the two of them, while they work as far as a narrative goes, they do not work as far as an overall artistic concept goes.
Well, yeah, because
they don't hold together very well.
The problem is, I mean, you've got your script was written, your script was done, and so in every director has a different interpretation. And so the problem you had is, you got the Snyder stuff, and you get Whedon come in and you go, I got to figure out a way to work my stuff into this as well to get from point A to point B. I've got to be able to connect the dots. And when you have two directors working on a film, it's a little hard to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And in this film, you really see where the dots stop and start. You go, well, this is a Snyder, this is a Whedon, this is a Snyder, this is a Whedon, and you can tell where the changes are. You can see that it switches moving, and that makes the film, to me, it's just a 3-star movie. Just
from a technical angle, I was surprised at how dodgy some of the special effects in this thing are. Not that the effects are bad overall, but there are sections of this movie where the special effects look really dodgy. Like the fight scene at the beginning between Steppenwolf and the Ancient Heroes. Yeah. There are sections of that just look bad. I mean, there's a shot with like 1,000 Amazons riding horses over a hill. Yeah. That looks about as poorly CGI'd as anything you've ever seen in a video game.
You contrast that with the Valkyrie scene in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, the Valkyrie scene in Thor Ragnarok is great.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, so it's like,
but almost all of those scenes at the beginning with Steppenwolf fighting the Ancient Heroes, that's all video game level shit.
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing in there that rises to the level of this is a movie and this is being treated like a movie.
Because you've got Mance Rayder, Ciarán Hinds playing Steppenwolf, but if you look at Steppenwolf, he doesn't look anything like Ciarán Hinds.
Well, that's the problem.
He's a total CGI effect.
Well, that's the problem with Steppenwolf. There's no reason in the world why they couldn't have gotten an actor to do that.
They got an actor to do the voice, but not an actor to play the part.
Yeah, I mean, you have an actor for the close-ups, and you have an actor for the medium shots, and when you have him fighting or running or jumping or flying or doing any sort of special effects, then you CGI him. But when he's just standing talking to other actors, there's no reason for that to be a CGI.
Ciarán Hinds came off of Game of Thrones. It's not exactly alien for him to do special effects stuff.
He looks like a CGI, and that's the big problem with him.
He's completely a CGI.
And
he looks nothing at all like the person doing his voice.
But the point is, he's not supposed to look like a CGI, and he does. And it totally takes you out of the movie.
He looks like a video game effect.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest drawback. He looks like a video game.
The other CGI problem is the obvious one that people talked about: Henry Cavill's mustache and beard. There are parts in this movie, like right in the very first scene of the film, where
that's a Whedon scene.
Well, they would all be Whedon scenes, with that CGI'd mustache and beard taken out. But the very first scene in the movie is Superman talking to a couple of kids with their cameras, talking about some rescue he just did. Yeah. And him talking about why do you like Earth so much? But as he's standing there talking to them, no, it's got nothing to do with the dialogue. It's got everything to do with the side of his face. Yeah, looking like it's full of bugs under his chin.
What's wrong with his face? It's like, well, that's where he had a mustache.
Yeah, it's moving around. Yeah, and that is the very first scene in the movie. And as soon as I saw that, I thought to myself, well, this is just implanted in my mind what to look for the rest of the movie. If I'd forgotten about it, I was just reminded.
That, boys and girls, is what happens when you have a lot of effects movies out there. There are only so many effects houses out there, and they can only do so much work.
Well, the other thing is, it depends on the effects house. This was not Lucasfilm doing any of these effects.
The people who did the effects thing, these are all people that have worked on major movies before. These weren't amateurs.
Yeah, but it's awfully slipshod work. It was either done on the cheap or it was done on the quick.
It was done on the quick. We had to get this. Yeah, like I said, you don't want the print to show up at the theater a little wet. Yeah. Superman, the first Superman movie, the print was wet because they did all that work and they finished it like 2 days before it was supposed to open.
Well, the first Superman movie, they were literally painting wires out, a week or two before the movie actually went to the screens.
By the time the movie got to the theaters, that print had just gotten finished. Because I mean, if you ever been to a movie theater before, those prints show up. Well, back then, those prints show up in the theater like the day before the film.
Thursday night. For a Friday release.
Yeah, so you walk out, you can walk out of the theater and start and go, oh, look, you go to the movie store starting tomorrow. Look at the cans.
Yeah, it used to be if you go to a movie on a Thursday night, if it's one of the last showings, as you're walking out the door, there's a pile of cans sitting there.
You can see the film cans sitting there.
Yeah, with handles on them. Yeah. And they just came in.
Yeah, they just showed up. Just so the guy could work on them and throw them for tomorrow morning for the following day.
As far as other stuff goes, the acting in the film is fine. I don't have a problem with any of the casting in the film. I don't really have a problem with any of the characterizations. You mentioned earlier, everybody's personality is different. Yeah. Everybody's personality is unique. Yeah. You may or may not like Surfer Dude Aquaman, but he's different from everyone else. He doesn't blend into the background. He doesn't fade into the woodwork.
And he looks at this as with a casual music. Oh, dressed like a bat. That's cool.
but every character is different, unique, and all the acting is good in the thing. Yeah. That is not a problem with this film. For the most part, the direction is okay. Although the one odd thing about this film is all the work that they put into Man of Steel and Superman versus Batman to show a fully populated metropolis or Gotham, and the rest of the locations in this film are very sparsely populated in this thing.
Yeah.
You've got a couple of scenes where, like, the Justice League is facing off against Superman in this park.
There's nobody in that park.
There's nobody looks like in the city.
The park's gone. The park is like, are they all on holiday? Where are they all going?
Yeah, everybody's gone.
Yeah.
When they go to Russia to fight Steppenwolf, the only people in this whole town are the family that's holed up in the house.
No, but that is we show this nice family, and so you go, oh, I'm sympathetic because this is a nice family.
Yeah.
That's a little story trick. It's a little storyline trick. You don't need to show anybody else. You're showing them so you can go, we connect with these people, so we're concerned about them.
It also gives the heroes something to do.
It also
gives
the
them
heroes
someone to rescue.
We're here to save them because, well, look at them. You know, they got kids and they're living in this house and these parademons are running around and these people are screwed and they can't fight them because all they got is sticks.
Well, they also wrote it into a corner where they didn't have to show anybody else. They set up this small town is actually a Chernobyl type place where the nuclear reactor went super critical. Everybody had to move out,
we're all eating potatoes.
For a 50-mile radius, you know, this whole area was closed down by the Soviets back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Well, what they're setting up here is some people move back in because they're empty houses there and they're poor and they have no money and it's someplace to live. And you know what? It might be irradiated, but the hell with it. You know, we have someplace to live.
If we need to terraform someplace, this empty space is basically the perfect place for it.
So these people just happen to be there when Steppenwolf comes in and starts to build New Genesis or Apocalypse on Earth. Yeah, whatever the hell he's doing. Yeah, one of the other things that we probably ought to mention is a lot of the stuff that's in Zack Snyder's previous 3 films that build up to this, like at the end of Superman versus Batman, the very last shot is of Superman's coffin and dirt rising up. Forget it; it's not in this. There's nothing in here about that.
Like I said,
which was probably on the cutting room floor.
Apparently, in the original Snyder version, Steppenwolf's the person who brings Superman back to life, not the Justice League. That scene now means absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and all that stuff with Bruce with his fever dreams about, you know, parallel future where Superman is killing everybody and Batman is fighting parademons and this great big omega symbol in the ground. None of that stuff's in there.
It's all gone. That doesn't exist.
And there's nothing else about, you know, Barry trying to come into the past from the future, you know, via Crisis on Infinite Earths, you know, saying, you know, you have to stop him. You have to save Lois. You have to protect Lois. She's the reason behind everything. None of that stuff's in here.
That sequence becomes basically unnecessary because it was taken out.
Well, because it
becomes irrelevant.
Well, all those scenes become unnecessary. Yeah. Now, if there's an extended cut coming out, which I'm sure there will be, some of that stuff might be answered in there, although I don't think they're getting very deep with it. I think that whole Flash coming in from the future thing, that was supposed to take care of itself 4 or 5 films down the road, which we're probably never going to get to at this point.
I think that Flash coming from the future probably was going to be part of the Flash movie.
Well, which
is a long way down the road.
Long way down the road, but it's doable. You could, if Warner's pulls a rabbit out of their hat with Aquaman, and if Wonder Woman 2 is a good sequel to Wonder Woman 1, you'll probably see a Flashpoint movie, and if the Warner executives are smart, that's where they'll reset their universe.
I'm expecting a lot of good stuff out of the Aquaman movie. James Wan is a very good director, and he's got a really good cast. I'm expecting this film to be very good. I'm expecting Wonder Woman 2 to be good, and I'm really looking forward to Matt Reeves' The Batman, whether it stars Ben Affleck or not, because Matt Reeves is a hell of a filmmaker. Yeah, and he knows how to tell a story.
But that's down the road. Any other thoughts about Justice League before we move on?
3 stars.
3 stars?
3 stars.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's a couple of little nice moments there. You've got the Danny Elfman Batman theme popping up there. You got the John Williams Superman thing popping up there.
There's a lot of stuff like that in there, which if Whedon had done the whole film, it would definitely have been a 3-star movie as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Whedon would have put a lot of this stuff, a lot of winks and nudges and nods and nods and nods. You know, and actually, for the limited time he's in the film, J.K. Simmons is really good as Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, he's fine. He doesn't do anything, but he's fine.
He's basically he's a turn a symbol on and off, and that's it. And
and he's got one scene where he's walking with what I assume is the Detective Gordon of that period.
Of that period. No, he's talking to Crispus Attucks. That's Crispus.
Oh, Attucks. That's right. The Future Spectre.
Yeah,
the Future Spectre. So. That's Justice League.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a break for a minute, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about Punisher and Frank Castle. Every Sunday is super at Alternate Reality with our Super Sunday Sale. Each Sunday we pick a different character, family, or publisher, and we discount all of their comics and trade paperbacks 25% off all day long. What we pick for the sale is different each week, but each Sunday you'll save 25% off. And that's all day long, all day Sunday, only at Alternate Reality. Bo and I sat down and we binge-watched, as we said at the beginning of the show, over the course of 2 days, 13 damn hours, The Punisher over on Netflix. Not to get into that whole storyline because it was long enough to talk about a 2-hour Justice League movie. A 13-hour Frank Castle movie is like crazy, stupid long to do. But the basic plot is at the beginning of the series, Frank is retired.
He's retiring.
He's
settling all debts.
He settles all of his old debts in the first couple of minutes.
Including the perfect shot where he shoots a guy in Mexico from El Paso, Texas. That's a great scene.
Yeah, it's a great scene. Once he retires, the wheels of the storyline work in such a way to drag him back in and make him part of something that he did while he was in the military the last time, which is still haunting him. Yes. And he's still living with.
That, and the fact, he's still remembering the fact that his wife and kids got. Actually, for a dead wife, she's in the show a lot for a dead wife.
Well, the kids show up.
And the kids as well.
The kids show up, too.
The kids as well. Frank's retired. Frank's done. He's working as a construction worker under the name of Pete Castiglione, because Frank's Castle's last name is really Castiglione. Yeah. Basically knocking walls down with a sledgehammer, and he's pretty focused.
Oh, he spends a lot of time knocking walls down with a sledgehammer. He is not just working as a part of a demolition team. He's working out a lot of his issues with a sledgehammer on a wall.
He's working when everyone else is gone. Frank just goes, every night he just goes, let me go knock some more walls down.
And he knocks the walls
down
not being paid with a sledgehammer by
himself
himself and nothing else.
Yeah. That's his tool. He's got a full beard and everything. And, it's like, okay.
And, of course, other idiot construction workers that work with him, they don't realize that a guy who's probably spending a lot of his time using a sledgehammer to knock down walls, you probably ought to leave alone and not screw with. But instead, they go out of their way to pick on him. Because he's working,
basically he's knocking down entire walls by himself without any help.
Okay. Well, anyway, Frank, when he was in the military, this last tour... He was part of what I guess is a death squad, an American death squad, where they capture suspected terrorists, interrogate them, and if they don't like their answers, or if they do like their answers, the upshoot of the whole thing is you get a bullet in the head and a shell grave in the backyard. They dug a hole and threw him. In a big ditch. There you go. That's a grave. Yeah. But this was over in Afghanistan. Yes. You jump to the present. Mm-hmm. He's left that life behind. Yes. Some of the guys that he was in the military with, who were part of this squad, feature prominently in this thing and work their way through the story. Yeah. The fact that this person was executed, this last person, becomes a major plot point throughout the 13 episodes and drags in people from all four corners, relatives of the guy that was killed, guys that were in the group with him that took part in this, the commanders at the time. Yes. Who were running the squad.
Clancy Brown gets another check.
For showing up for 10 minutes work.
Yeah. I didn't only see the one day. Thanks for the money.
And this all comes together to put Frank on the spot with Micro, who has his own storyline, which dovetails right into Frank's, and the two of them wind up having to team up together.
Micro's a whistleblower who exposed a lot of stuff and is basically in hiding, living in an abandoned factory.
Now, the sister or the wife, I forget, of the man who was executed?
No, she's not the sister.
She's not the sister?
No, she's a government agent who has been reassigned to New York City.
She's with Homeland Security.
She's with Homeland Security. She's not related. She was working on this story. She knew who this guy was.
I thought she was related to this guy.
No,
it was a brother or something.
No, she just knew him.
Okay. She winds up getting involved in this. Yes. Through a couple of levels. Mm-hmm. She winds up falling for one of the guys who was in Frank's platoon. Yes. And she also comes into contact with Frank. Okay, and one thing leads to another. She winds up having to turn against the guy she loves. Yeah. She winds up having to work with Frank reluctantly, but the upshot of it is, well, you're going to get killed otherwise.
Yeah, if I don't help you, you're going to die.
This is a long. I don't want to say long because that makes it sound bad, but it's not. It's a good but long 13 hours. Yeah, and it is much better than The Defenders. It is infinitely better than Iron Fist. It's a little bit better than Power Man, Luke Cage. The story holds together better.
No, I think it's about the same.
Really?
I think it's a difference in perspective. The Luke Cage film was basically a black exploitation film on TV. The Punisher is a action drama, which also has a lot of serious drama moments in it, because Frank's life in the military is affecting him every single episode.
here's the neat thing about these Netflix films. If you put Daredevil off to the side, because you assume Daredevil is just a superhero thing, and it's more. There's more to it than that. They get into ninjas and all this hand crap. But essentially,
he wears a costume.
It's a sense of superhero story. Everyone else in this, though, they work a different theme or they work a different problem within the context of the character's origin and the storyline and everything that they want to deal with. Like in Jessica Jones, they deal a lot with feminism and they deal a lot with the woman's place in society. Mm-hmm. In Luke Cage, they deal obviously a lot with...
He's a hero in Harlem.
Well, they deal a lot with black issues, African-American issues. And Frank Castle, Punisher, deals a lot with veterans issues. A lot with veterans issues. I mean, this thing really, as much as it's about Frank killing bad guys and being the Punisher, it's also almost just as much about veterans affairs.
Yeah.
And the problems vet has coming back and PTSD and all the rest of that, which I really liked. That, I mean, I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I was expecting the vet stuff, but I wasn't expecting them to harp as much on veterans' problems as they did.
A major part of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like, but that's the situation where you've got 13 episodes.
And it's an integral part of the plot.
Oh, yeah. In fact, it's a major part of the plot.
It's not just we're stopping the plot, now we'll talk about veteran stuff, then we'll come back to the plot. It's all part of it.
Completely. I mean, you've got, Frank's facing multiple villains here, and one of the villains he has to face is a member of the veterans group who goes off on the deep end.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, okay. And
becomes an American Taliban.
Becomes an American Taliban, and then brings in Karen Page. It brings in Brett, the detective who was last seen in season 2 of Daredevil.
It brings in Turk.
It brings in Turk. Yeah, you don't get Rosario Dawson, but you get Turk because
Turk's in every damn one of these.
Turk is always involved in some kind of crime, and so if there's some kind of street crime going on, Turk is going to be around. And it's usually it's one scene. He shows up for one scene, he does his bit, and he's gone. And I bet you when he signed up for that, he goes, I didn't know I was going to be on most of these things. I just thought I was going to do a couple of them, and that would be it.
I was really impressed by the amount of work they do with Veterans Affairs and how they treat the subject matter. And it's not pandering.
No.
I mean, it's not like they spend a lot of time, oh, these poor vets, isn't it so sad? Or, well, they did it to themselves, so, who cares? It's a very humane look at what vets have to go through when they come back.
It's very humane and it's very subtle.
Yeah.
It's very subtly done. It's not something they beat you over the head with it, I mean, when you first see the first meeting of the veterans group, you go, what's this guy do with anything? And then, at the end when it's over with, Frank shows up. You go, hey, how you doing? You go, oh, this is the guy who set him up with his new identity. Well, that's kind of interesting. And, and he's a field medic. So, you get around the Rosario Dawson thing because she wasn't available for the show because she was doing Defenders. We need someone to fix Frank up because he gets beat up and shot. He stabbed a lot.
A lot, yeah.
Someone has to patch him up, so it's like, well, this veteran guy's better at doing it. And you've got the origin story of Billy Russo, who's going to become, for all you Punisher fans, we already know this is going to be Jigsaw. Well, we see the birth of Jigsaw.
Yeah, but not until the very end.
Yeah,
not until the 13th episode. Yeah, and then 45 minutes into the 13th episode.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is, you're sitting there going, how are they going to mess his face up because he's handsome Billy Russo? Oh, they're going to mess his face up a lot. We're going to start slow and work our way up to the big time.
Now, the only problem I had with that, Frank has killed everybody up to this point.
Yeah.
Frank doesn't kill him. He says, I'm going to leave you alive
to make you suffer.
But
I'm going to mess your face up because you're cute.
Yeah, but that's the thing that bothered me about it, because you've established this character as the Punisher, and he just kills everyone. But he doesn't kill this guy, who is the one guy he ought to kill out of this whole movie. And he doesn't. And I understand you have to get to Jigsaw. Still, to set this one guy up as, well, you are the one guy I will not kill, when you've killed everyone else.
You have to get to Jigsaw, but you have to remember the character and Frank went through a lot of crap together, and so he can't really kill him.
Yeah.
So he figures he's going to suffer most by just messing his face up badly.
I would hope that if he comes back in a sequel, his face really is messed up badly.
Well,
and not a couple of scars. And we had plastic surgery.
This kind of be a hard way to go a couple of scars the way his face is messed up.
Yeah.
In the comics, it's basically just a series of stitches. So, and that's
why it's called Jigsaw, because his face looks like a big jigsaw
his face
puzzle.
Has to be put back
It's got all these scars all over the place and all these hash marks all over.
That happens to be a relatively easy thing to do. That is, the special effects wise, that's simple. You just basically superimpose, stitches on his face.
Yeah.
But Netflix has not ordered a second season, but it's sort of an inevitability.
Well, Netflix probably hasn't ordered a second season because they may not have the character by then.
Not necessarily. I don't. The Netflix deal is not ending anytime soon. Disney's streaming service is nowhere even close to being ready to be started. I mean,
yeah, but Netflix has been making a lot of moves to get themselves ready for when they do pull out. I mean, they bought all the Mark Millar stuff.
Well, Netflix...
And there's another thing that they just purchased recently, just this last week, I think, didn't they? Some other catalog of stuff.
I'm not sure, but Netflix and Amazon have both been setting themselves up for the future with or without anything. And Apple, I think, is setting up a big deal. You know, Amazon's talking about spending $40 billion on product. I got my Entertainment Weekly this week. The back cover is Bright, the Will Smith movie, which wasn't cheap.
Yeah.
You know, and that's going to be a Netflix movie.
Yeah, that's the Alien Nation thing that they're doing.
Yeah, that's going to be on your TV screen. It's not going to be in theaters. Netflix and Amazon are setting themselves up for being a major content provider. They're spending a lot of money. The Netflix guy said, yeah, we'll probably spend $20 million for an episode because we know we're going to make the money back. I think they'll be set. But yeah, I don't think the Disney streaming service, that's 5-10 years from now. It's hard to set up.
Oh, I don't know if it's that far down the line.
Well, it's got to be at least 5 years.
We're talking Disney. I mean, I think that they have the money to be able to put this thing together.
They've got the money to be able to put this thing together, but then you've got to go through.
I think if you're Disney, you're looking at every Punisher or everything that comes out on Netflix is that much less money we could be making instead. We should be featuring this on our service, so let's get this service moving. I would assume that they've got the gears and wheels turning on this thing. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it wasn't up and running a year and a half from now.
I would think 2020, 2021 at the earliest.
Oh, I don't think it'll be that long. Now, the contract with Netflix, I don't know how long that stretches.
That contract,
but they've already got their own content that they can put on there.
I would assume that the Netflix contract is the same with any other options. As long as we keep making the shows, they're ours. And at a certain point, you know, with the actors on the shows, they'll be like, how many more of these things do I want to do? Charlie Cox may want to do something else. You know, these guys may want to do other things. John Bernfeld's not exactly hurt for work. You know, the guy's working a lot. I think you'll probably get 3 to 5 seasons out of all these shows. And then at some point you'll go, this is a logical way for us to end this. And then at that point, yeah, it might be. Or Disney might simply go, the deal we've got right now is fine, and we'll just let you guys do this, and we'll just create our own stuff. You got Hulu. You know, Hulu's got Runaways, which apparently is getting really great reviews. Is that going to move over there?
Well, yeah, I assume it would be. I assume everything's going to be at some point. Whenever the contracts run out and Disney's got their service ready, it's all going to migrate over.
But I think it'll be a slow rollout. It's not going to be everything at once.
Yeah, besides
Disney hasn't even come up with a price point.
It'll be around $10. That's what everybody's price point is. $10. If it was more than $12 a month, I'd be hugely surprised. Unless you have young kids in the house, or unless you're a mom who really can't get over the time your mom took you to go see Snow White or something, there's nothing in the Disney catalog that anybody hardcore would give a damn about. And if you're a big animation fan.
And if you're a big Star Wars fan.
Well, Star Wars, yeah, Star Wars. But if you're talking about the original Disney catalog of animated films and live action stuff with Old Yeller and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Flubber, nobody is going to spend $12 for a catalog like that. They're going to spend it for Star Wars and Marvel and Pixar.
And that would also include, because they happen to own ABC.
Well, a lot of ABC content, yeah. Well, as I was talking to someone earlier in the week, but Disney already made this venture years before Netflix into doing PG and PG-13 rated films with Hollywood Productions. Down and Out in Beverly Hills. Yeah. That was one of the first films that Disney did under Hollywood Pictures, and it was rated PG. Yeah. It was Richard Dreyfuss and Nick Nolte. Nolte was a derelict, a bum who stumbles into a rich guy's backyard and
let's take care of him,
and apparently dies, and so the rich guys want to take care of him. But they did a lot of other movies too. What was the thing with Danny DeVito and Helen Slater, where the couple kidnapped the couple kidnapped the wife or something and keep her hostage in the basement and try to ransom him, and the husband really doesn't want him back.
No, I'm not paying her. Yeah, it's a PG version of All the Money in the World.
Yeah, but actually they did that stuff right after I think Tron came out.
Yeah.
As much as people love Tron, when the first Tron came out, as far as reviews go, it stunk the house out.
Yeah, reviews are pretty bad, but the film was actually successful. But Disney at that point only did G, so they created Hollywood Pictures to do PG. And
didn't they have another studio too to do PG-13 or R stuff?
No, that was it.
I thought they had a third one.
No, Disney's never done R stuff. They probably never will.
Okay, we're getting close to the end with this. Anything else you want to put in about the Punisher?
Extremely well done. Definitely go out, and if you haven't seen it by now, make sure to point to get it. And for all you folks that are going, well, yeah, if I don't have Netflix, how am I supposed to watch it? For somehow, Netflix has gotten into the past year or so releasing all the Marvel stuff on video.
Okay.
So if you don't have Netflix and you can't see this, it will be on video. It's just in Target today. You can get season 1 and 2 of Daredevil. You can get Luke Cage. All this stuff comes out. Daredevil season 1 came out kind of like under the cover of darkness. If you went to Best Buy, you couldn't have it. And I think I found it at Target, or I had to order it from Amazon. That's differently now. If you go to Target right now, if you're a Stranger Things fan, they've got like 65 copies of season 1 on sale right now. I'm like, it's everywhere. So if you don't have Netflix and you want to see it, well, a year or so now it'll be out. $9.99 a month, $10.99 a month. You got Comcast, it's easy. You got anything else, it's easy. Get it. Okay. Get it. Because you can watch Netflix and never watch any other channel ever again because they've got everything under the sun.
Well, they got a lot of stuff, not everything. As far as I'm concerned, I think that this Punisher is probably the second or third best thing that they've done on Netflix to date as far as the Marvel characters go. The first Daredevil, I think, is still pretty good.
Yeah.
The second Daredevil is pretty good. Jessica Jones starts to creak in the middle. Yeah. Luke Cage starts to creak in the middle, especially that handoff between the Cottonmouth and Razorback or Diamondback. The storyline gets real creaky in the middle there. Iron Fist and Defenders are just a disaster. I wouldn't waste my time watching them.
Well, Iron Fist has its great moments. Iron Fist season 2 is already on.
Iron Fist doesn't have a coherent storyline.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. There's no point behind watching the damn thing. It goes nowhere. It does nothing.
There's certain points at which they didn't want to go to. Season 2 of Iron Fist has a completely different showrunner.
Well, good.
So it will be completely different. I think I was reading something that they already figured out what the villain's going to be. He's going to be facing off a female villain this one.
Good for him.
So I think it's a Ed Brubaker creation to be exact.
Okay, and that's it for the Punisher. Go out and see it if you get a chance, and we'll be right back after this with the Rorschach Test. Hey folks, Comic Book Man here. Most people don't know this, but I got my start in comics retail on February 20th, 1978, when I became the store manager of the Comic Book Emporium. 16 years later, I opened Alternate Reality on August 20th, 1994. Like Superman's penchant for double L's, it seems the 20th has always been an important part of my life. I respect that heritage, which is why we have a Founders Day sale on the 20th of each month here at the store. Every 20th, stop by and you'll save 20% off all of your purchases all day long, only at Alternate Reality. Bo, it's time for your Rorschach test.
I already had my shots.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that because I'm going to give you a word.
Oh my God!
And I want you to tell me the first thing that comes into your mind. The Ultimate Universe.
Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Millar creating a universe under the guidance of Bill Jemas. And they basically said, we're going to create our own toys. And we're going to create our own playground. And that playground was what made Marvel a crap load of money during that point.
Okay, but how do you feel about the Ultimate Universe? What comes to your mind when you think about it? Do you get a warm, fuzzy feeling inside? Do you get a waste of time feeling inside?
I get a warm, fuzzy feeling inside. I thought it had the initial incarnation was great. I think when you got to a certain point where you started involving other creators other than Bendis and Millar, you kind of lost it a little bit. And by the time you got to the end of the Ultimate line, it was like, why is this still around? So it started out really, really hot. It stayed hot for a while, but once they started farming out between the initial two creators that were working on everything, then it was like, okay, it's just another comic line. The Ultimate line at some point was better than the Marvel books at certain points. You know what I mean? If you think
that's one of the reasons they did it.
Yeah,
because the regular books weren't selling, and they were trying to kickstart sales.
They were doing. The idea was
it was like the New 52.
Yeah, we're gonna do different versions. We're gonna do the same. We're gonna do the same team. We're gonna do the same characters. We're just gonna have different people playing it. That's where Miles Morales came from. You know, that's where the whole Triskelion and Nick Fury's Black thing came from Ultimates. You know, and the Immoral line.
Most of what you wound up with the Avengers movie was from the Ultimates comic.
It's all the Ultimates comic stuff. Yeah, the Helicarrier and all the Triskelion and all that stuff. It all came out of the Ultimates book. That's where the creativity was. But it was because it was a small house. There were only going to be 4 books. That was it. 4 books. That was all. They weren't going to go beyond 4. They stuck with their plan.
What was it? It was Ultimates, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and what was the other one?
No, the 4th one I think was a series of limited series.
Well, Marvel Team Up ran for a little while.
Yeah, oh yeah, Marvel. Yeah, you had Marvel Team Up.
Ultimate Marvel Team Up. That ran for like 14, 15 issues, I think.
Yeah, that was where most mainstream fans figured out who Robert Kirkman was.
Yeah,
because Kirkman came into Marvel and he worked on those books. That was where Ultimate Avengers or something like that? Ultimate Adventures, where you had the Batman and Robin ripoff.
Yeah, the Ultimate Adventures,
which is actually pretty damn cool.
Adventures,
yeah.
not Avengers.
Yeah, that's pretty damn cool. But yeah, once you got to the point where you started bringing in other creators, the line kind of lost it, and Marvel realized that, and that's why they said, Brian, why don't you kill it? And he killed it.
Yeah.
And they said, why don't we take Miles Morales and we'll introduce him to the regular mainstream Marvel Universe?
Well, they killed it in Secret Wars.
Yeah. Well, they killed it in Secret Wars, but you also had Ultimatum, which killed it as well. And and Damon Lindelof worked on the books. He did the Ultimate Hulk Wolverine limited series. Big name artists. Brian Hitch became Brian Hitch on the Ultimates.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was the guy who was working on stuff, but Brian Hitch working on the Ultimates, that was a big deal. That was widescreen comic stuff. That was, you think the A on my head stands for France moments, you know, and it's just massive stuff.
Well, that gets back into what we were talking about on a news show previously. You know, Brian Hitch being one of those folks who migrated over to DC.
Yeah.
He just hasn't had the same impact.
He has the same impact because Brian Hitch has the same issue he had over at Marvel, which Marvel's able to cover it. Brian Hitch is slow. And when Brian Hitch went over to...
Well, all you need is lead time to fix that.
Yeah, and Hitch went over to DC because DC told Brian Hitch, you can write books as well. And he may end up getting an opportunity in Marvel. And there was nothing wrong with him getting his scripts in. Problem was him getting his art in. And so you had Brian Hitch writing a book. Isn't there another issue of that Justice League thing he's doing? Isn't there one issue left?
No, I think they wrapped his Justice. I think they wrapped his Justice League up. I think they wrapped his Justice.
Yeah, but the stuff he wrote showed up on time because he didn't have to draw it. The stuff he had to write and draw always failed to hit his deadline. Nothing to do with that.
Ultimate Universe for you means
good stuff.
Good stuff.
Good
okay,
stuff.
And that's it. We're done. We're finished.
Wait, what's your opinion on this whole thing?
No, I didn't give a rat's ass about it. Well,
Jesus Christ on a crit.
Okay, let me give you my real quick opinion of it. It started off pretty much what I assumed it was going to be. It was basically Marvel's version of Earth 2.
Yeah.
Marvel was doing an Earth 2 without telling anybody they were doing an Earth 2 until they finally got to the point around the Marvel Zombie stuff in Fantastic Four where they came out and said, you know what? This is like Earth 2. Yeah. This is just a parallel Earth. And then everyone goes, oh, well, it's just a parallel Earth. And that's when the bloom started to go off the rose for the Ultimate Universe.
Anybody who's reading it knew it was a damn parallel Earth.
Well, yeah, but yes and no. You didn't know if it was a parallel Earth, parallel timeline. Are they going to cancel the Marvel Universe? And will this be the new Marvel Universe?
Yeah, that was a rumor.
That was a serious rumor because the regular books weren't selling.
Yeah.
And these books were.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that, we're going to kill the old Marvel Universe and everything's going to be rolled into just the opposite of what ultimately happened with the Ultimate Universe, except we're going to do it in reverse. We're going to kill off the old Marvel Universe. We're going to roll everything into the Ultimate Universe because these books are what's selling. That was, as a retailer and as a comic book fan, that was always one of the things that stuck in my craw about the Ultimate Universe. Not that I didn't think the Ultimates were, like you said, widescreen comics. Yeah. The Ultimates were doing exactly the same thing that the Authority was doing a year or two earlier, making widescreen comics under Mark Millar and under Warren Ellis, with Quietly doing the art. They were doing widescreen comics, except they were doing more conceptual stuff, where all Marvel was doing was reworking already existing concepts and then updating them. I mean, really, if you look at the Ultimate stuff, there's very little in there that's original. They're just redoing all the old Lee and Kirby stuff, and they're updating it.
Well, it was quirky stuff. Like I said, is Thor God or is Thor crazy?
Well, okay, but ultimately he wound up, he was a god. I mean, ultimately it all wound up being exactly what you thought it was.
He's a god. Yeah.
Whereas in the Authority, they were actually doing stuff that was looking at and breaking down comic book norms, norms and storylines and characters that everybody knows. I remember the issue of the Authority where the Authority fought the X-Men. Basically, it's Midnighter saying, you guys are a pain in the ass. You guys have always been a pain in the ass. Okay, you got 8 arms? Great. Here's a baseball bat to the side of the head. Oh, you got claws? Look, I've got these little batarang things that also have claws. Here's a couple in your eye sockets. And they're doing stuff like that. They would systematically go through the Marvel Universe, destroy every character in the Marvel Universe, not in the DC universe, but with the Authority doing that. But since the Authority were owned by DC at the time, it was basically DC doing that.
Well, it was DC doing it at the same time, but it was also DC being very hands-off.
But also, when they did actually go to, in Planetary, Planetary did exactly the same thing, except they did it with a different twist and from a different point of view. When they actually got into the core characters in the DC and the Marvel Universe, they wouldn't redo those stories from the ground up. They would basically say, look, planet blows up, ship comes to Earth, it's got a baby in it, and then the baby gets killed. We're done. Oh, look, millionaire, parents get killed, the kid grows up to be a psychotic who gets killed. And that was Planetary. They would take a lot of these tropes and they'd turn them on their head. Where Marvel, all they did was, we're just going to tell you the same damn story all over again, but with really spiffy art, and we're going to update everybody so that they sound like they're being written in 2003, 2004 instead of 1963, 1964. But essentially, it was the same damn thing all over again.
Well, yeah. Well,
so nothing original there.
Well, they weren't exactly secretive about that fact.
It was new and improved.
Yeah.
They took the car and they gave it an Earl Scheib coat job.
They flipped the car and they said, look, we can't do this over here, but we can do this over here. We're not going to recreate Peter Parker, although this world has a Peter Parker. We're going to create a new character who's walking around with spider powers.
Well, if you're talking about Miles Morales, that was way down the line.
Yeah.
That was 10 years down the line from the first one. And they killed off Peter Parker because they couldn't come up with any more ideas to do with Peter Parker. So Bendis said, well, we'll just kill him and make a new one. It's black.
Let's create a new one. The Fantastic Four the same.
So the ultimately, when everything was said and done, the Ultimate Universe really didn't do all that much for me. I thought it was just a lot of running in place. It was old wine and brand new.
Oh, you're saying the Stan Lee version of the Illusion of Change is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, except done on a larger scale. Yeah.
Like I said, it was a personal playground.
And that's it. We're done. We're finished. We're out of here. We got no more time to do anything else except for me to tell you, be sure to stop off at the store and the store's website where you can check out all of Bo's news. And that's myalternatereality.com. Bo updates the news every day. Actually, he sends me news. I update it. On the store's website, again, that's myalternatereality.com. And, of course, be sure to stop off at the store, the intersection of 111th and Kedzie. 15% off all new comics every day for everyone. Until next time, this is Comic Book Man.
And this is Bo.
Saying, bye.